Hey guys, Dennis back for another part in the shed series. So this one has to do with the roof. So today we're gonna start on the roof. We need to install drip edge and felt paper before we put any shingles down to protect the roof. And I'm gonna show you how to do that. Stay tuned. So for the sheathing, we're gonna be using 1/2 inch. I think it's a little bit less than 1/2 inch. I think it's 15/32. All right guys, so this is the style drip edge that we're using here. And you can see the shape of it here. So I chose to go with this to give a little more kind of overhang over because of the thickness of the fascia being 3/4 inch. I wanted it to be a little more protected than just using the regular like 1.5 or 2 inch or whatever it was. It's only $1 more, so totally worth it. So this stuff is a little bit trickier than the L-shaped drip edge to cut because you can't just like saw right through it because you have this folded edge here, and I'm going to show you how to cut that, and I'm going to also show you how to make a corner. All right, so I'm going to show you how to start this. So I'm going to start on the right side of the shed first, and I've seen a bunch of different ways to do it. You know, you can say it's right, you can say it's wrong, but there's literally 20 different ways on YouTube videos on how to do drip edge the right way or the wrong way or whatever. So if you have a better way, drop it down in the comments. I'd definitely like to hear it. All I basically did is I cut a 1/2 inch relief out of the bottom here. Right, this is what it looked like before. All I did is I cut a little 1/2 inch relief here, and what I'm gonna do when I put the next piece of drip edge over that, that'll fit together just like this, and it'll protect water from going down inside of the top one. This will be the rake side, and I'll show you that once we get it on the roof too. Now for fastening the drip edge, I'm using these 1.25 inch electro galvanized nails. Now as far as putting the drip edge on the fascia on here, right, I'm not going to have aluminum fascia. I'm not having gutters on here because of the angle of the fascia. So I'm not worried about this needing to be off or you know, enough to accommodate fascia and or a gutter. So I'm just going to butt it right up against it. Now that relief cut you can see here, I want that relief cut right level with this edge, maybe hanging off just a smidge. And we can even test that out with that other piece I cut. So we can put this over, right? And that's what it looks like when the rake side is on here. I'm gonna nail this about every, I don't know, maybe foot. Probably do a little bit further, maybe every 2 feet. All right, now for this one, since this one is the left side of that roof, we want to make it look similar to this, right? So we mark the back side of this, as you can see, right? That's where, right here, that mark right there, that's where the end of the fascia was. So if I just take this little scrap piece and put this in here and mark up on here, now I know where I need to make my cut for the top. Put our speed square on here, make our mark, make our cut. Right, and now you can't cut all the way through because the tip of your tin snips stop right here. All right, so we're gonna cut right on that line. Like this. All right, that gets us to that point. Now we need to make that bottom cut I'm gonna cut up through here now, like that. That piece is off, and then all I do now is I cut right here, sort of like that. And I forgot to mention, you want to make sure you have gloves, because this stuff does get really sharp when you cut it. And then you can just kind of hold it down a little bit, and then if you notice now, we have our piece for the end. All right, now you can see right here where these two ends meet, they overlap, right? Not a whole lot, but they overlap and they fit right onto each other really nice. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drop a nail right where these two meet. All right, so we got our couple inch overlap here. It's like 2 or 3 inches. And we're gonna go and make a mark here on this side. And that's the end there. Forgot to mention too, these come in 10-foot pieces. So since the shed is 10 by 16, I figured on material wise 2 pieces for each of the eaves, and then I bought, since they're about 6.5 feet, the rake sides, I ended up having to buy 1 for each side of the rake. Okay, battling gravity here. All right, well, we got our corner around here. What I want to do is, you see this line here on my fascia board? I'm gonna cut this line right here. So I'm gonna pull this off a little bit. I'm gonna cut this line. And when I fold this right side piece is actually gonna go up underneath there. And cutting this line, I know the peak of my roof is right here, so I know this is gonna fold on here really nicely. All right, just like that. Look at that. That's, you know, it may not be perfectly in the center, but this is what we got now. Now look at that. All right, and we're gonna go back down to the bottom. Just make sure we're flush. I think we are. And then we'll just zap a nail in either side of the top here, and then work our way down. And then the piece that goes on here, you wanna make sure goes underneath. You want this to be on top, so any water that sheds down off the roof sheds over the top of that. You don't want that on the top of there, because then water's gonna get inside of that drip edge. Here, we don't have to worry about 2 pieces meeting up here and water getting in here. It's a solid piece. All right, guys, so I got so excited filming this video. I'm a total bonehead. I forgot to put the tar paper on before I put the rake side drip edge on, so I actually ended up having to pull the nails from the rake side drip edge and take it off. You can kind of see it laying over here on the ground on the front and back. So we got to put the tar paper down, because the Eave side drip edge has to be below the tar paper. The rake side, or kind of the front of the shed side, where the roof comes up to the peak, that drip edge has to be on top of the paper. So this is what we're using here. I started ripping a label off. You can probably still see it. It's 15 weight roofing felt. So I'm just gonna roll this out in the yard, use my tape measure. I'm gonna cut it to length. I'll bring the piece up there so that I don't have to carry this thing's, you know, it's not super heavy, but 50 pounds, and trying to deal with it up on the roof with the angle of the roof and the ladder and all that, it's not worth it, honestly. All right, so our roof is like 17'9", shed 16, but with the overhang, it's like 17'9". I'm gonna cut off 20. And I'm gonna show you what we're gonna be using to attach the roofing felt or tar paper, whichever you may, is these cap nails here. So they have this little plastic cap on them. They're not collated, but they're like a ring shank nail. All right, guys, so I'm actually gonna do this reverse from what you see a lot of people do in videos. And I'm going to start on the top and work my way down instead. But we do want to make sure that we get right to the edge of the fascia. The drip edge will cover this up, like kind of anything that's sticking out or whatnot. I'm gonna bring this all the way up here, and I'm gonna put nails about every 12 inches. Actually, I'm not gonna nail the bottom, right? And that is because the next layer has to go under the top layer, right? When water hits this, we don't want it to go underneath the next layer, we want it to go over it. When we go to put our next layer on, we'll put it underneath here. And it looks like we're gonna need 3 layers, or at least 2.5. All right, so we're gonna put our next layer on, and we wanna overlap this by at least 4 inches. All right, so I really screwed myself thinking I was smart and putting the top piece of roof felt on first and trying to slide the other ones up underneath it on a windy day. Total chaos. I will never do that again. But we are complete. You can kind of see it here. We got it on. I had one little snag right around here that tore a hole in it, so I just tucked another piece up under the top layer and shingled it down, put a couple nails in it. So that should be good. So we're gonna put our drip edge back on now. All right, so we're papered and flashed here with our drip edge. Looks a lot better now. Starting to look like a shed here. So I got my dad coming over tomorrow to give me a hand putting on the shingles. And I just did the last piece here. So you're gonna make sure when you add an additional piece, you wanna make sure it goes underneath the piece coming down so the water stays on the outside of it. Everything looks good. We're ready.